Among the Elves of Middle-earth, few names inspire as much reverence as Glorfindel. A warrior of unmatched courage, a lord reborn from death itself, and one of the only beings in Middle-earth said to rival the power of the Maiar, Glorfindel stood as a living reminder of the elder days. He was described as tall and terrible in his wrath, with radiant golden hair that shone like sunlight beneath the trees of Rivendell. But Glorfindel was far more than a noble elf lord. He was a survivor of the First Age, a veteran of Gondolin, and one of the greatest champions ever to oppose the darkness of Morgoth and Sauron alike. Glorfindel was born in Eldamar during the Years of the Trees, in the blessed realm of Valinor, before the rising of the sun and moon. He was descended from a house of princes among the Noldor, the mightiest and proudest of the elven kindreds. And when the rebellion of Feanor divided the elves, Glorfindel followed the house of Fingolfin into exile. Yet unlike many of the Noldor, he took no part in the kinslaying at Alqualond, where elf first shed the blood of elf. Crossing the grinding ice and frozen wastes of the north, Glorfindel entered Middle-earth during its darkest age. He fought in the Battle of the Lammoth, and later marched beside King Turgon during the Dagor Aglareb, the glorious battle. But his destiny would forever become tied to the hidden elven city of Gondolin. When Turgon discovered the secret valley of Tumladen and founded Gondolin, Glorfindel became one of his greatest captains. He was appointed Lord of the House of the Golden Flower, one of the most renowned warrior houses in the city. Beloved by the people of Gondolin, Glorfindel embodied both the grace and ferocity of the High Elves. In battle he was fearless, and in peace he was remembered as noble and wise. He later fought beside Turgon in the Nernaeth Arnoediad, the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, one of the greatest catastrophes in the history of the First Age. The armies of Morgoth crushed the elves and men of the West, and from that day onward, Gondolin stood as one of the last great strongholds against the darkness. But even Gondolin could not remain hidden forever. In the final years of the First Age, Morgoth unleashed his armies upon the hidden city after its location was betrayed. Balrogs, orcs, and dragons descended upon Gondolin in a storm of fire and ruin. During the fall of Gondolin, Glorfindel and the warriors of the Golden Flower defended the Great Market against waves of invading orcs. Though ambushed and overwhelmed, they fought with such fury that even the servants of Morgoth feared them. As the city burned, Glorfindel joined Tuor in defending the fleeing survivors. Together they guided refugees through the mountain pass of Cirith Thorenath, the Eagle's Cleft, hoping to escape the destruction below. But upon the narrow path, terror awaited them. A Balrog emerged from the shadows, leading a host of orcs against the escaping elves. And Glorfindel stepped forward alone. What followed became one of the greatest duels in the history of Middle-earth. Upon the edge of a sheer abyss, Glorfindel battled the Balrog in single combat. He evaded its fiery whip and monstrous claws, striking with such force that he split the creature's iron helm. Then, in the final moments of the struggle, Glorfindel drove the Balrog backward from the cliff. But as the demon fell, it seized Glorfindel by his golden hair. Together they plunged into the abyss. The Balrog was destroyed, but Glorfindel too was slain. After the battle, Thorondor, Lord of the Eagles, descended into the chasm and carried Glorfindel's broken body back to his people. They buried him high among the mountains surrounding Gondolin, and legend says yellow flowers bloomed upon his grave despite the barren stone. Yet Glorfindel's story did not end in death. His spirit passed into the halls of Mandos in Valinor, where the souls of elves awaited judgment and healing. But because of his immense courage and selfless sacrifice, the Valar granted him an honor almost unheard of among the children of Ilúvatar. Glorfindel was sent back. Re-embodied in Valinor, he dwelt once more among the Blessed Realm, and it is said that Manwë himself granted Glorfindel powers nearly equal to the Maiar. In time, he was sent back to Middle-earth as an emissary of the Valar, a living weapon against the growing shadow of Sauron. By the Third Age, Glorfindel dwelt in Rivendell alongside Elrond. And though the ancient wars of Beleriand had passed into legend, Glorfindel remained one of the most powerful beings still walking the lands of Middle-earth. His might became especially clear during the wars against Angmar. At the Battle of Fornost, Glorfindel helped shatter the armies of the Witch King, and when the Lord of the Nazgul fled into darkness, Glorfindel uttered a prophecy that would echo through the ages. Far off yet is his doom, and not by the hand of man will he fall. Nearly 1,000 years later, those words would come true upon the fields of Pelennor. During the War of the Ring, Glorfindel once again played a vital role. At Elrond's command, he rode from Rivendell in search of Frodo Baggins and the Ring-bearer's companions. Finding them pursued by the Nazgul, Glorfindel drove the riders away and guided the hobbits toward Rivendell. When the Nazgul attacked again near the ford of Bruinen, Glorfindel placed Frodo upon his great white horse, Asfaloth, and ordered the steed to carry him to safety. Asfaloth outran even the black horses of the Nazgul, and when the ringwraiths entered the ford, the enchanted waters of Rivendell rose against them in a thunderous flood, sweeping them away. At the Council of Elrond, Glorfindel sat among the wisest and greatest of Middle-earth, beside Elrond and Gandalf. Some even considered him for the Fellowship of the Ring. But it was decided that Glorfindel's immense power would draw too much attention. A being such as him could not move unseen through the lands of Mordor. And so, while others carried the burden of the ring, Glorfindel remained behind as one of Rivendell's greatest guardians. After the destruction of the One Ring, Glorfindel witnessed the wedding of Aragorn and Arwen, standing beside the last great heroes of the Elder Days. Though Tolkien never revealed Glorfindel's final fate, it is believed that he eventually sailed west across the sea, returning at last to Valinor, the undying lands from which he first came. In the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, much of Glorfindel's role was given instead to Arwen. She replaces him during Frodo's journey to Rivendell, and Glorfindel himself appears only briefly in the background during several scenes, with no speaking lines. Yet despite his limited role in the films, the true Glorfindel remains one of Tolkien's most legendary elves. A warrior who slew a Balrog in single combat, a lord who returned from death, and a shining remnant of the First Age, whose power and wisdom endured long after the world he once knew had fallen into myth.